Today on Leading the Calm, we're talking about togetherness and individuality. If you're a leader, have you ever felt as if you are kind of losing control, losing connection with the people that you're leading? I want you to know that today we're going to talk about the fact that that is a biological challenge. It's a tug of war that is being fought between individuality and togetherness. And today on Leading the Calm, we're going to tackle those issues so that you can lead your teams better and more effectively each and every day. And as usual, I am joined by none other than Dr. Gary Banks, who will break it all down for us today. Dr. Banks, how are you doing today?
I am doing well. I love that introduction. That's great.
Man, look, I'm excited about this topic because it's an important one for leaders. And as a leader myself, I'm all about learning how to work better with my teams and dealing with the sometimes what seems to be a gulf between being connected and individuality and all these different types of things. So what good stuff do you have for people like myself and others that have been watching and listening to the podcast?
Well, before we get into that, I just want to thank our listeners for helping take us over the 1,300 mark of subscribers.
They're amazing. They're awesome. You guys are doing an incredible job.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you so much. And we just want to encourage you to continue. If you're listening, like and subscribe. You can even share. And let's see if we can get to 2,000.
I like that.
Now, individuality and togetherness. You ever dealt with your parents and your parents are like, be yourself? That is a very powerful tool for the leader. Can a leader be him or herself? Or are you a people pleaser where you want everybody to like you? You want to avoid conflict at all cost. This is a very weak part of leadership. And if we can understand this dichotomy between individuality and togetherness, our leadership IQ increases. Let me give you some definitions here. So, what is individuality? It is the drive to be a self-defined person. What defines you? And on the other hand, you have togetherness. Ever been in a church and somebody welcomes everybody and they say, "Oh, we're all a family here"?
I've heard that.
That's kind of dangerous, actually. Everybody doesn't come from a healthy family.
That's so true. There's a lot of toxic families and a lot of challenging and difficult situations. What should we say instead?
Well, the implication of we're a family, I mean, it's supposed to mean warm and fuzzy, but people define family in different ways. I first heard this when I heard a pastor say that he was referring to God as a father and a loving father to an individual. And the person said, well, my dad wasn't loving, so that person couldn't identify with God as a loving father. It's the same thing. Can people identify a church as a loving family based on their own background? So there's the danger of fusion when we talk about togetherness. How much are we alike? How much do I identify with the other members of my board or my team? The question really is, where do I end and you begin?
And that's a good question to answer, because knowing where you end and where the other person begins allows for there to be accountability and other important parts of team and leadership.
Have you ever seen maybe on the Nature Channel where a predator is stalking the hunted?
Oh, yeah.
So let's talk about the antelope. They're grazing. And what happens is somebody hears a click. One of the animals hears something and they look up from grazing.
Mm-hmm.
So now their senses are heightened. What happens is because of their togetherness, and this is healthy in some situation, in this situation, it's like an electric connection from one animal to the other. And the herd, this is where we get the term herd mentality. And so now all that needs to happen is one needs to run, then everybody runs. They don't know what the danger is, but they're going to run. So that's what's helped to protect them. It's the same in our organizations, because what our organizations long for is the homeostasis, the status quo. They don't want things to change. That can be very dangerous. But before we go on, I'd like to ask our listeners to make sure they stay to the end. If you stay to the end, I'm going to give you what I call the Balanced Leader Checklist. It's a one-page PDF with 5 questions that you can ask yourself if you feel anxious when you're leading your people. And so this document will help you even understand your own mentality when it comes to individuality and togetherness. So stay to the end and I'll show you how to get that.
I like that. And I think you're probably going to get there as we're talking about it. Are you seeing individuality as something that's bad and togetherness as good? Or are you suggesting that we need both of them within certain boundaries?
Great question, because they are neither good or bad in and of themselves. It is the level of our togetherness and the level of our individuality that makes it good or bad. So the real term here is differentiation.
Mm-hmm. The real term here is differentiation.
Differentiation is how you can separate yourself from others. Because in a group, on a board, on a team, sometimes we fuse with one another. In fact, on the way over here today, I was watching Real Madrid play soccer. It's some sort of playoff something. I don't know how that works, but
was it the El Clasico? Was it that one? Was it Barcelona versus Real Madrid? I don't know.
No.
That's the only soccer,
right. I don't know much about
match
soccer.
There I do know that they play in Spain, La Liga. Anyways, that's beside the point.
Sure,
you're watching them.
No, but the thing about it is, I have become a fan of 𝐂𝐚𝐥𝐦 Mbappe.
It's a great football player. Great football, soccer, whichever part of the pond you come from, right? Yeah.
Mbappe he was making great plays, great shots, but they were missing or getting blocked or whatever. But this time he made an assist. I think they call it an assist in soccer. So he made this assist, and the player, I can't remember his name, Vin something. He scored the goal, and he had this great celebration, and he got yellow carded for it. Now, listen to me. I don't know soccer, but I know that yellow card is bad. Okay? And so, the man who made the goal is of African descent, and so is Mbappe. Somebody on the other team said something derogatory. The one who was targeted told. I didn't like how this went out. He ran to the official and said, he said something, whatever. Well, we don't know what was said. He covered his mouth so they couldn't lip read. But the announcers were suggesting that it was something racial or whatever. The anger began to move from one player to another. On this issue, they were fused. So if we don't differentiate ourselves from among our other team members or board members or family members, whatever it is, that anger will jump off of one person onto the other, and it escalates. The leader's job is to stay cool. And the only way that leader can do that is if he or she has a high level of individuality.
That's good right there. That's good. Now, differentiation, especially here, and individuality in today's society could mean so many things. I feel like everyone's trying to stand out and do their own thing and whatnot. Are there even boundaries to individuality and how a person differentiates themselves? Like, I can be different, but if my different is actually causing a distraction to productive work, is that a little bit too far and not connecting to another part of things, which is the culture that's being developed there?
Well, what you want to do is have a mind of your own and be able to express it under any circumstance. What happened? Have you ever been in a board meeting and you make this great presentation, but there's one person, everybody seems to be for it. Everybody's nodding their head, but then one person says something that derails the whole thing.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And now nobody wants to say anything because they're fused together. And that is what stops progress on our teams, in our organization, at our churches.
All right. So being fused together sometimes can be very detrimental, or is detrimental. Being able to speak your mind and be able to be an individual, stand on your own, think for your own, express your own thoughts and ideas is part of a healthy organization and healthy individuality. What else? What about togetherness? How can we express that in a healthy way?
Well, again, there's levels of individuality and there's levels of togetherness. The healthy levels of togetherness and individuality is what makes efficient teams. If people are not thinking for themselves, they suffer from properly named group think. Everybody's thinking the same. You ever heard the saying, if I need your opinion, I'll give it to you?
Yeah.
Or if I wanted your opinion, I don't know, I'll ask you for my own opinion or something.
Man, that's a rough organization that has those types of mantras that they'll share on a regular basis.
Yeah. And so if you look at championship teams, efficient businesses, they have a healthy level of individuality and a healthy level of togetherness.
You know, I think of one of the teams when I was really young. The Chicago Bulls were winning championships left and right, and of course, it was led by Michael Jordan. You know, I don't know where people who are listening to this might fall in, but it's inarguable that he is one of the top three players that have ever played basketball. But I can remember on that team was also Dennis Rodman, who was his own individual there. And he had a very specific thing that he did. Great defender, great rebounder. He had Scottie Pippen, who had his whole way of doing, of playing the game and was a great defender himself, but had a different skill set and could be very dangerous from that. Many times better than the other small forward on the other team. And then you had other kind of seemingly interchangeable parts, whether that was a shooting guard, whether that was Ron Harper or Steve Kerr back then in those days, other things of that nature. There was a clear leader and there were others that were, had other very clear defined roles, but everybody was their own individual selves. But they brought that to a court that had defined lines, a game that had defined rules, and they worked together and did a lot of winning as a team.
So we talked about in a earlier episode, the SCARF model, and where S stands for status. Michael Jordan had the highest status. However, and it's interesting that you bring Michael Jordan up because I was just this morning saying to myself, that it's time for me to dive into Michael Jordan's personality, simply because there's a long story to this, but I'm not a Jordan fan. And it has nothing to do with his ability to play basketball or his personality or anything. That's another hang up I have, and we can talk about it another time. So I have not seen his documentary, The Last Dance.
It's a great documentary. I've seen it.
I'm sure it is. I have decided to watch it. And the reason I want to watch it is because I'm hearing that Michael Jordan was hard to get along with. And what that tells me, without seeing the documentary, without ever meeting him, it tells me that he had a high level of individuality. He didn't care, allegedly, whether you liked him or not. That's a high level of individuality. And in some cases, that's unhealthy. So I am going to watch The Last Dance. I'm also going to watch the movie, the Air Jordan movie, just to kind of see how he is portrayed. It also raised my interest on Steve Jobs as well, because I hear terrible things about him, his individuality. Don't care what you think. This is what we're going to do, whatever. So that high of a level of individuality led to success for their business, but it was unhealthy for some relationships.
So, and I'm glad that you've kind of looked at a couple of these different areas, because someone might be listening and saying, I need to be more like that if I'm going to achieve those results. But it doesn't seem as if that's always a winning strategy. You have to really kind of gauge where you are, because there's sometimes that you might have to make difficult decisions. That's part of the reason why you're a leader, is sometimes you got to make hard decisions and have hard conversations and whatnot, but also be compassionate toward people as well. In some way, shape, or form, from one time to another, you're going to have to be able to have at least some empathy and be able to tap into that to be able to lead well. And I wonder if Jordan or some of these other folks had that in different ways, but they're outliers as well. That's kind of what I'm hearing you say, that they're great leaders, outliers in some ways. And, there's some things to learn, and also some things to learn to not emulate from them.
Yeah. And so again, it comes to the level of individuality you have. You have to, there's a balance here where, can we all get along? Yes, but at what cost? Can I be my own individual? Yes, but at what cost? So you have to be able to stand on your own 2 feet. If you have an opinion and you believe in it, you should express it. And you should be able to do it without raising your blood pressure, wanting to fight, or this is where it is.
Is it natural for a person that wants to engage in that, for them to feel a little bit nervous about sharing their idea, or maybe even being that person that's in the room that says, I don't want to be fused to groupthink. I think this is a bad idea, when everybody might say that it's a good idea. What might you say to a person that says, I might be in a situation where I'm the minority and I know it? Can I still be my individual self? And are there times that I need to say, maybe this isn't quite the time and the place?
It's always the time and the place to express your thoughts. And it's the level, again, we're talking about the level. Where are you on the scale of individuality, of self-differentiation? If you have low levels, you're not able to express yourself. If the group has low levels, what they tend to do is pull you back into where they are comfortable. You've heard the term crabs in a barrel?
Yeah.
Have you actually seen it? Have you actually seen the crabs in a bucket or in a barrel? If one of them's getting up, they're pulling the other one down. So if you as a leader are showing your individuality and it makes them uncomfortable, they're going to attack you. They're going to do it in a way where, wait a minute, what you're doing is making us uncomfortable, is raising our anxiety. And we are together on this. We are fused on this, and you have to make it stop right now. And they will do whatever it takes to make sure it stops.
Okay, so there's a leader that's listening to this. That's one person that's under leadership. But for actual leaders themselves that want to lead in a calm way and sitting around their table or on their team are individuals, how do you lead them well?
The more you know this is why we're doing this podcast. The more you know this phenomena exists, the more you can respond in those situations. I find myself much cooler when people do outrageous things in meetings. We have to be able to look at behavior as if it were a case study. Because before I learned these principles, somebody did something quote unquote stupid or said something outrageous, that raised my level of anxiety. And then that starts an argument or some sort of hit back or whatever. But the leader cannot do that. And you're more prepared to avoid that if you know these principles.
What else is there on this topic of individuality and togetherness as a leader trying to lead in a calm way and an effective way?
Well, I think we'll end it right there and ask our audience to come back for the next episode, and we'll unpack that even a little bit more.
I like that. And if you're out there listening and perhaps you have a case study of some sort about maybe fusion that we talked about here today, of how togetherness and individuality worked, let us know. Shout us out, drop a comment below, like and subscribe. Each and every one of you matters. Thanks for being a part of Leading the Calm with Dr. Gary Banks.
Before we go, I promised them that I would tell them how they can get the Balanced Leader Checklist. So if you found today's talk on individuality and togetherness helpful, I don't want you to just listen, but I want you to be able to apply these principles. And so that's why I put together this Balanced Leader Checklist with 5 questions that you can ask yourself to measure your togetherness or your individuality. And you can download it for free at I'm going to say it this way. I'm sorry, I don't have my full new website up, but I do have a blog that I kind of got back online for this occasion.
Oh, I like that. You're blogging now. I like that.
No, I was blogging and now I'm using that blog to communicate some of the things for this podcast until I get my website up.
All right. So where can they find a checklist?
𝐷RGBanks.com.
𝐷RGBanks.com.
Just go to my website there and you'll see the Balanced Leaders Checklist. You can download it and hopefully it'll be helpful. I'd like to hear from you. Let me know how much it's helped you.
Thanks so much, Dr. Banks.
My pleasure. Look forward to the next time.